Oh boy, it seems like things are getting really bad for Prime as they just keep getting hit with massive lawsuit after massive lawsuit, all while it seems like the sales are tanking. You now have stores in Norway which are practically giving away bottles of Prime for 10 cents a bottle. And this isn't like a Dollar General type store in Norway. No, this is like one of the main grocery stores. So it very much seems like Prime is collapsing from the heights it was at when they launched in 2022 because the demand, it was just so high. You had grifters like Wakey Wines reselling Prime for hundreds of dollars a pack.
How you doing, buddy? Are you right?
Not bad, mate.
Where have you come from?
Bev,
What made you come to Wakey Wines?
I've seen it on TikTok.
What have you come to buy? 12 bottles of what? Metamoon.
12 bottles of Metamoon.
That'd be £419 and you've paid on the card. What's the best shop in Wakey? Wakey Wine.
Wakey wine.
Thank you very much for coming. Abdul, come closer.
There's just so much wrong with that video. 450 pounds for 12 bottles of Prime. And then his customer just seemed like he was in a hostage situation. And then his hoodie is the Paradox crypto scam that used the fake Ronaldo and iShow Speed to promote the project. I wonder where that project is now.
And it's gone.
Oh. But back to the Prime lore. Logan and KSI, they were boxing rivals for many years, but they united to partner up to become the face of this new sports drink. Clearly, it was extremely hyped. Logan and KSI, they were bragging about how well it was doing.
What the numbers?
Yeah, what's the numbers?
What are we dealing with here?
All right.
Come on.
Oh, God. In year one,
Yeah.
we cleared $110 million in retail sales.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, excuse me. $250 million in retail sales.
Oh, sorry. That was a little mistake.
110 million gross internally. In January of this year, we did 45 million.
Oh,
Wow.
only in January?
Yeah.
But now, I guess not so much. And I don't know why. I can only speculate. Their competitors, they taste better. They may not be healthier, but they taste better. And we actually saw this play out with Mr. Beast very recently, where he made chocolate bars that actually had really good ingredients, but people just didn't think they tasted as good as the competition. So they had to go back and rebrand and add more sugar and so on. So the question now is, will Prime follow suit? To be determined. But Prime is definitely trying to brand themselves as a sports drink, but there's a lack of sugar and extremely low sodium. So I'm kind of trying to figure out where they're wanting to position themselves, like realistically in the market. Is it for people who want something good to drink but not get fat? But then they just kind of run back into that same problem where they just don't taste great. And then it can't really help that the face of the brand is Logan Paul, who's one of the most disliked creators of all time. But kids, they were eating this stuff up. So I feel like the value prop I see here is parents probably don't want to give their children the worst of the worst. So they're probably looking at the sports drink version of the Prime, not the energy drink one, because they're two separate things. And they go, oh, look, there's pretty much no sugar in this. Maybe this is a better alternative. In Norway, I guess that wasn't that strong of a value prop because it seems like they're on their way out. I did end up going to a couple different stores to try to find Prime, and every time I found Prime, it was for sale. Here in the US, it's definitely not on the crazy sales like they're doing in Norway. I mean, in Norway, it's like 99% off there. The sales I found are probably like 10 to 20% off, as I'll show in pictures here and here. And this is from Target and CVS. So those are a little bit to be determined. The 99% sale in Norway definitely means they can't sell them. 10 to 20% sales, that's somewhat normal. You see that with products here from time to time. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're really struggling. But their sales are not their only problem, as they've been hit with a handful of lawsuits recently. The first one was being the high amount of PFAs allegedly being found in Prime. But it doesn't really seem like there's too much substance there in that lawsuit. Logan even made a response to Dr. Pompa and another TikTok lawyer who made videos about this PFA lawsuit Prime was involved in. And both of those responses, I even said in my video covering that situation, were good responses from Logan. But this also establishes that Logan has a past of coming out to set the record straight. So the fact that he hasn't came out to talk about any of the other lawsuits, that's a little bit interesting. But what are the other lawsuits? So first and foremost, we have a $68 million lawsuit filed by Refresco Beverages, a major independent beverage manufacturer, and the dispute between Prime and them stems from a contract they signed between the two parties in April 2023, where Refresco agreed to manufacture Prime's uniquely shaped bottles. To fulfill this contract, Refresco invested heavily in setting up a specialized production line, refitting equipment, and dedicating significant resources exclusively for Prime. Apparently, this was a risky venture for Refresco, as it required substantial upfront financial and logistical commitment. The contract included a minimum purchasing requirement obligating Prime to buy a set numbers of bottles each year for 3 years. This was a safeguard for Refresco, ensuring that they would recoup their investment even if Prime's sales didn't meet expectations. The contract also outlined penalties for Prime if they failed to meet these minimum purchase commitments. It's also mentioned that things seemed promising for Prime at first. However, according to Refresco's complaint, sales began to decline due to various factors, including seasonal demand fluctuations, waning social media buzz, and ongoing class action lawsuits against Prime related to alleged deceptive marketing practices and potentially harmful ingredients. As sales dwindled, Prime allegedly began to backpedal on contractual obligations. Refresco claimed by March 2024, they had completed the setup of the production line and scheduled a final test run to begin commercial production. However, Prime reportedly refused to participate in this test run and subsequently failed to place any initial orders. According to the lawsuit, Prime then abandoned the entire contract, effectively declaring it invalid and walking away from the agreement. Refresco contends that Prime's actions represent a blatant breach of contract, especially after they had already invested significant resources into fulfilling their end of the deal. The lawsuit seeks $68 million in damages to compensate for the costs incurred by Refresco in preparing for production of Prime bottles. Okay, so Refresco is essentially alleging they got rug pulled here. They invested a bunch of money to be able to produce the Prime bottles, but then Prime just stopped buying bottles from them. No way. An investor with Logan Paul being left with the bag? That's never happened before. Completely unheard of. But a light $68 million lawsuit isn't their only worry, because they were also sued by the Olympics. Why are they being sued by the Olympics? Well, for allegedly using the Olympic-related trademarks without permission. This lawsuit claims that Prime used phrases like Team USA and Go for Gold in marketing materials, which are protected by the USOPC. The committee argues that these unauthorized uses could confuse customers and dilute the Olympic brand's value. Speaking of diluting the brand's value, I wonder if they've seen the Ray Gun breakdance performance. But as of now, Prime hasn't responded to any of that, but that's also not the only thing they have to respond to, because as a NASCAR driver by the name of
Cesar Baccarella
has sued Prime Hydration for copyright infringement. The lawsuit here claims that Prime used
Baccarella
car design, which features his signature Prime Time branding, without permission in their marketing materials.
Baccarella,
Which I might have been pronouncing wrong earlier, or I'm pronouncing it wrong now, who knows? But he alleges that this unauthorized use of his branding has caused confusion and damages to his personal brand. Then finally, another supplier is suing Prime for $13 million, called Agravana. From a Tribune article, it says Agravana, the company that supplies Prime's coconut water mix, has accused Prime of breach of contract. The lawsuit claims that Prime, after experiencing slower than anticipated sales, convinced Agravana to adjust their contract to ship smaller quantities of coconut powder. However, Prime allegedly had a surplus of inventory and canceled orders, defaulting on payments in the process. Agravana argues that Prime breached 2 separate contracts and is seeking full compensation for the damages incurred. So, I mean, this is just a whole new side of this Prime success story that we haven't heard of, because last time we heard about anything of how the business was doing was Logan sitting on Andrew Schultz's podcast saying things like this.
Bro, we're taking market share. Like, not me trying to flex. Like, we're eating market share and taking dollars out of these massive corporate conglomerates' pockets.
It just seems like this is not aging well. The last time we heard anything about Logan talking about the success of Prime was when he interviewed Trump. Trump asked him how it's currently doing. And instead of saying, oh, it's going well now, he stated what they did in sales last year.
Who makes more money?
Depends if Jake has fights.
And it depends on when this sells. Is that your new drink?
Yeah.
It's doing fine, doing well.
We did 1.2 billion last year.
That's great.
So that could be misleading if they had a massive last year, but are currently in dire straits. I guess that's up for interpretation. So what's interesting about that clip with Trump is he said they made $1.2 billion last year. That's what they did. In the Schultz clip, he said that apparently profit was about half of their volume.
If I tell you how much we've made internally this year,
Yes.
year to date,
Yes.
will you bleep it?
Yes.
Bleep it?
Yeah. That is gross profit.
Yeah.
So you have to pay your expenses.
Sorry.
You have to pay your...
Sorry, no.
It's not profit,
No.
gross sales.
That's right.
No. Gross sales is double that.
Bro.
So that's your profit?
Yes.
Wait a minute.
If they made $600 million, that is massive, especially if that's all profit. Something doesn't really sound right about that margin though, but I think Logan Paul will probably regret going on to Schultz's podcast and bragging like that in the future. Because now, I mean, you have multiple lawsuits from business partners of Prime, which is very different from people suing Prime for marketing or a consumer suing Prime because they're unhappy with a product or they found something in the product. No, this is partners of Prime that went together to produce Prime. They're suing Prime. So clearly there's something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. As of the recording of this video, Prime hasn't responded to any of this. So it'll definitely be very interesting to see how they do so in the future. But I guess only time will tell if this is just the start of the Prime collapse or if this is just a bump in the road for them.